15 things that can help tinnitus back off. I've given a lot of information out there in little bite-sized chunks, but I want to offer a very broad and complete view as to the things that help tinnitus back off, because I often get messages saying, but how do you stop it? And so this is the longer answer. And please don't get overwhelmed with all these different things. You don't have to do them all at once, but just know all these things potentially can be of great help. So I'd encourage you to sift through them, see which ones resonate with you, and start to put them into practice. I have found in my clinical practice over the last 20 years that people have benefited from all these various things. You don't have to do all of them. If you don't do all of them, some of them can really help you make a very good recovery. So don't feel obliged to suddenly do everything 100%, because that's not what I'm saying. All these things are strings to your bow. Everybody will need different things to help. So first of all, to understand that tinnitus is very much linked into the central nervous system, and specifically the limbic system. If you look up Pavel Yastrebov, he was a TRT consultant. He was a founder of TRT. He understood in his research that the hearing system is mediated very much by our central nervous system, and how threatened or afraid we feel compared to how we're relaxed and feeling safe. And Jonathan Hazel also did a lot of really good work on this. He was the first person to put it into clinical practice, the learnings from Yastrebov in London. And the crucial thing to understand is that our hearing ramps up its sensitivity and turns into gigantic radar-like sonars, listening out for danger when we feel threatened, unsafe, ill at ease, and over-exhausted or overstimulated. When we're running on adrenaline, when we calm down and relax and feel very, very calm, safe, comfortable, cozy, safe, on top of things, at peace, there's a palpable sense of comfort in the body. Our focus is inside. We're not up and out. We're relaxed inside our skin bag of experience. It is normal for our hearing to pipe down to very small but very focused receptors that are very good at filtering out the unnecessary sound. So you can fall asleep at a party, tons of noise coming in, doesn't matter. Your mind ignores the noise, it's fine, you can sleep. But if you wake up after a nightmare, or you live with a tyrant or bullies who really leave you walking on eggshells, you can't say or do anything without having your head chopped off or being cast out, or all sorts of things, or people who are utterly innocent and you're the sole perpetrator of bad or whatever. You can get strong personality setups where you are left on tenterhooks listening out for danger, or you've had an awful, stressful time. Your hearing in this situation becomes hyper-vigilant, hypersensitive, and you end up listening out so acutely that you're listening to the buzz of your own internal central nervous system. The internal volume can be 3 times as loud if you're stressed. So if you're very calm and relaxed, going on the London Underground or hearing a baby crying right next to you, if you're calm and relaxed, you can completely ignore it without a care in the world. Your hearing does not care. It switches off. So feeling well, calm, safe, relaxed are crucial for your ears to be able to filter out the irrelevant, unimportant information. Normally, when you're calm and relaxed, your nervous system ignores the buzz of your nervous system. We all have this buzz. We're alive. Our nervous system's full of impulses, but your hearing doesn't detect it because it doesn't need to. It's not important. And as Heller and Bergman pointed out in their brilliant research in 1965, I think it was, they put 80 people into a totally quiet room, asked them to listen out for any noise. 93% of them developed tinnitus, because in total silence they were straining to hear, and they ramped up their sensitivity and ended up hearing the buzz inside their body. So this is really useful because there's something very normal and ordinary about tinnitus, but when we're calm and relaxed, we don't bother to check up on the sound of our nervous system because it's not important. Just like you don't walk around all day long feeling your socks. You can feel them if you want to, but it's not important. You've got better things to focus on. It's only when you become terrified or threatened and the alarm bells start ringing, and then the mind really locks into this ring and you get very afraid about it, and then you create this syndrome of hyper acute hearing, focusing on the buzz, and fear, threat, messages of doom and gloom perpetuate this temporary condition. So the way out of tinnitus is this way, down, out of your head. This intense focus on the hearing, mental stress, all this awfulness up here. You need to learn to reverse out of this, down into the body, and find your ground in body-based awareness. You always have a body. You can really learn to develop the feeling of your body much, much more. Most tinnitus people are heady and live up in their heads, and their focus is up and out. We've got to get you back in and down. So yoga, tai chi, baths, massages, lovemaking, stretching, all yawning, all these things that we do every day are very good for tinnitus because we take the focus off it and we start to settle the nervous system down, and that causes the activation of tinnitus to start settling. The buzzy charge of the sound comes down and the mind no longer over-focuses on it. So really important piece of advice is to start getting body work to help your nervous system settle down. So if you see a craniosacral therapist, they will help release the buzzy charge and really drop you into a much calmer state. Or if you see a reflexologist who will massage your feet for an hour, it is blissfully relaxing. They can work with the entire nervous system through the points of the feet, and they can really help rebalance you and settle you and get the focus out of your head into the other end of your body. Any hands-on therapy that causes you to relax deeply is incredibly helpful because the focus shifts out of your head, you switch off, you feel safe, you start to settle into the body, the mind comes away from hearing, tinnitus, and your buzzy charge starts settling. The more safe and the more settled you feel, the more the alarm bells are likely to stop ringing. It doesn't matter if it's pulsatile tinnitus or screaming kettle tinnitus. It doesn't matter how it was caused, whether you had a neuroma removed, or you had a car crash, or you went to too many loud concerts. The triggers for tinnitus are endless, but the residual remaining buzzy charge in your system is very changeable, irrespective of hearing damage, whether it's loud noise or whatever. It really is changeable. I've never met a kind of tinnitus that can't be changed, and I've worked with over 800 people over the last 20 years. Body practice is really important because most people with tinnitus haven't yet learnt how to self-soothe, and they haven't yet learnt not to hang out in the catastrophizing mind, worries, anxieties. If your head's going off on one or your ears are going off on one, you really need to learn to shift the focus into the body. Learning practices where you can get onto the floor, do them, and half an hour later you feel much calmer and more relaxed is incredibly good for you. It's good for you to know that you can settle yourself down. Most people haven't yet learnt to self-soothe. Learn to do this with yoga, tai chi, relaxing, calming practices. Then this is really going to help. What you're aiming for is safety, feeling calm, safe and relaxed, settled, at home in the body, at home in well-being. That causes your nervous system's alarm bells to stop ringing, literally. Please avoid negativity and stress. It is devastating going online and reading just the negative tales of doom and gloom. The people who used to have tinnitus have got better. Loads of people go through phases of tinnitus and make a complete recovery. This is just the way it is. If you go online, you only see stuck people in clumps of negativity. You know, it's quite rare for people to say, oh, hi, I used to have tinnitus. This is how you stop it. There are a few people doing this, but most people will just move on once they've got better. What you need to be very careful of is getting together in negative clumps of stressful thinking or bullying. Oh, that's nonsense. Oh, you mustn't think like that. Oh, what they're saying is rubbish and it'll never get better. You know, this is stressful. And if you believe it, there's every chance that your mindset will keep you stuck and stressed. So if you belong to a tinnitus support group, it's incredibly important to make it positive, constructive, and de-stressing. You know, it's useful to feel a sense of community and help and support and to learn from each other as long as you're going in the right direction. If somebody's pulling a group down and being very negative or bullying or dominating mindsets or keeping people fearful, really encourage them to get therapy and to get their own support built up, because too often I hear tales of people reading X, Y, and Z or hearing somebody say something and that freaks them out for months. And, you know, tinnitus is very stress related. So as long as you're putting your focus into understanding what's going on, getting your head around it really helps. It's just a stress response. Really looking into the Pavel Yastrebov's findings or the Heller and Bergman research, watching videos from people who've come out of it or learning from people who really know how to get better. It's really good to understand and learn from each other. But you really need to be careful with tales of doom and gloom and stressful information. Even seeing somebody who is struggling with tinnitus can be activating. I have many clients who discover suddenly that a friend of them used to have tinnitus, and the impact it has on them when they realise that, oh, that person got better and this is what they did. It doesn't bother them at all. It's very minor. It's a tiny background sound. They had an awful time before, but now they're much better. This is very helpful. It helps you know that it's possible. You can get practical advice and it helps you really calm down. So really do be careful of the stressful mindsets, people, and negative clumps of moaning and groaning, because it's really not helpful. Practical things, stimulants like coffee, tea, sugar, cocoa, alcohol. If you have too much of them, they're not good for tinnitus. If you drink 10 cups of coffee, if anybody drinks 10 cups of coffee, they'll probably develop tinnitus. If you have 1 cup of coffee, it probably won't do anything. So just be aware that if you're having a hell of a lot of black tea, coffee, alcohol, cocoa, these really fire you up. They switch you on. They make you more alert, and that pushes into the tinnitus pattern of listening out more acutely. Don't give it all up suddenly, but just ease off. Go gently and easily into a comfortable lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, and know that if you're knocking back a bottle of vodka a day, you're really pushing it. You know it's bad for your health. Sugar is a highly addictive, toxic hormone that gets our poor pancreas to secrete lots of insulin, and then our it brings blood levels crashing back down again, and then after that our adrenals secrete adrenaline and our heartbeat goes up. We need to be really careful with sugar, and salt as well. Many people report having too much salt makes their tinnitus worse. It's one of the few things that brings back my tinnitus. For example, if I go to a party and have tons of crisps and sausages and cheesy, salty foods, it just brings it back a bit. So be aware of that, something to look after. If you're the kind of person that goes up into your head and freaks out and gets into catastrophic thinking quite quickly, then as well as body-based practices where you don't entertain those trains of negative thought because you just revert to body, it's incredibly helpful to learn to meditate. Meditation practice helps you develop a way of focusing your attention, so focusing on the in-breath, where you're just hanging out with breathing, so you can really learn to hang out with one focus. And so when all the Twitter comes along, and then your catastrophic train of thought pulls into the station, and oh my God, will I have this for the rest of my life? Doors open. You don't want to jump onto that train of thought and get swept away in stressful thinking. You can be hijacked for hours by one negative thought, actually. Much better to realize this is going on. Oh, here we go. I know that thought. Yeah. I've heard it all before. Take 5 breaths, breathing out of the mouth, into the nose, out of the mouth. Just close the lips and relax. In breath. Do that 5 times, and that's long enough for you to have completely forgotten about this thought. The doors will have closed and the train will have pulled out of the train station, and you'll just be standing on the platform breathing. Meditation stops you from getting lost in thinking. And if you're a catastrophic thinker, a lot of tinnitus people are, that's an incredibly helpful thing. Come back to meditative thought, so staying with the mind, staying with what's going on, being aware of the thinking, seeing it as something that's just passing through like clouds in the sky, and you're not getting lost in it. You're just staying with the breathing practice. Breathing in and out of the nose. It's incredibly helpful to learn to meditate. Go to any Buddhist center, they will teach you how to do it. Mindfulness is all the rage these days, which is great. Mindfulness is like discovering an oasis in a desert. You can really learn to channel your mind, really be clear of your thinking. If you go to a Buddhist center, then it's like an ocean of awareness. It's incredibly helpful. Dharma teaching is amazing. And the meditation practice connects you to a tradition, just like yoga and Tai Chi do. They connect you to a wisdom and a tradition that's amazingly good for you. Instead of getting lost in stressful theatre of thinking, you connect with a very, very positive energy, and you learn to really focus and settle yourself. So meditation is incredibly helpful. Tinnitus is very linked into this part of the body. Obviously, location-wise, your hearing is here, and the central nervous system, the way it functions, it's very closely linked into the physical structures of the face, the facial nerves, jaw, cranial base. If you can please start to develop a very hands-on approach with this part of your body. Use your hands. They're free. They're the best therapists in the world. And you know how you feel. And if you can de-stress and calm and relax all the muscles down the side of the head, the TMJ, the jaw, working on your face, freeing up the face and the cranial base, and the ears, massaging the muscles behind the ears, it's incredibly relaxing, soothing, and it gets your structures that are intimately linked in with tinnitus to soften and feel much more comfortable. So watch the videos on how to massage the face, the jaw, the cranial base, the ears. Have any good hands-on therapist work a lot in this area. It's incredibly beneficial. And simple activities like yawning, when you yawn, it gets all the structures of the eardrum muscles, eustachian tubes, the auditory canals, the whole inner and outer ear, actually, they get a real sort of like a massage or a workover, and they start to open up and free up. And if you yawn enough, you're really releasing these muscles here. Your eyes start tearing up, your nose can go moist. This is all parasympathetic. This is the nervous response that brings stress and nervous anxiety down. Yawning, stretching, sighing, sighing, laughing, of course, that causes this releasing convulsion in your diaphragm, release all the way through this ventral midline of the body. Incredibly helpful. Humming, singing, these are things we only do when we're happy. So if you hum deliberately and you sing deliberately, this shifts your focus into an activity which is very connected with well-being and feeling happy. And I really encourage you to enjoy these simple, very soothing, everyday things that we just do all the time when we're well. And it kind of brings the system more into that space of well-being. This is why if you have a really good yawning session, it can actually cause your tinnitus to quieten down. This is why if you have a meal with friends, you're doing something which is very safe. You're eating, laughing, hopefully, really enjoying yourself. This is why people constantly say, I went out with friends, had a lovely evening last week, and my tinnitus went away. Why did that happen? It's because you're feeling safe, calm and relaxed, and you're naturally de-stressing and releasing tension in this whole jaw ear area. So don't underestimate the power of yawning, humming, singing, sighing and relaxing. Baths and showers are very, very useful. You get into a bath and all the attention's pulled into your body, and the focus shifts out of your head with all that intensity and rebalances itself more evenly throughout the body. It's effortless. Water's very de-stressing. It can really soothe you. Really get into the water and almost imagine that the water is going to take that buzzy electric charge out of your nervous system and just flush everything away down the plug hole. Really good to have cold showers. Cold water exposure is good, especially in summer. If you have a shower, you can start off oscillating between warm and cool. A minute and warm, a minute and cool. Just gently go from one to the other. You don't want to jar yourself or shock yourself. And then you can just increase the extremities, so colder, hotter. Staying with what's manageable and comfortable all the time, but actually that gets your whole system to kind of close up and open up. It's kind of like a bit of a lymphatic massage, and the whole body responds very specifically, very viscerally to change of temperature in the water. It's very grounding, very soothing. And cold water, if you have longer periods of exposure to cold water, it's very anti-inflammatory and very settling for the nervous system. It's a real tonic. You can feel good for hours after swimming in a cold lake or a cold waterfall. Water's incredibly helpful, healing and soothing. Everyday activities like slow walking, instead of being an autopilot and all the Twitter and mentalness in your head dominating, if you walk slowly, Suddenly you're placing your body and you're very in touch with the physical experience of how you are inside your skin bag. The body helps switch the head off. Body awareness gets the twitter and all. It helps get you out of all the nonsense up here and really reconnects you to just very simple feet on the ground, body postures and movements. It's incredibly good for you to just walk slowly and just to connect with the body. It takes you out of that accelerated mental and puts you into the calmer, slower, more grounded physical. Fasting is very good. I really recommend easing into it very gently. Check with your doctor first. Most people are fine. There are certain conditions where you might need to be careful, but containing your food to eating within 8-hour windows is very good for people who are adults, so sort of over they've over 30 years old. Their body is fully developed, and it gives you plenty of downtime for your digestion to just rest and repair every day. And if you watch the Horizon documentary, a BBC documentary it's called Eat, Fast and Live Longer. It's a brilliant documentary that really gives you a lot of information of how hugely helpful fasting is, and just easing into it gently. So maybe 2 days a week, you might have one meal a day. So on Monday and Thursday, you just have a late lunch at 4 o'clock, and that's all you have. That's just enough to tip your nervous system back into hunter-gatherer mode and to really benefit from some of the amazing things that happen when you do fast. And there are plenty of people who find once they get into fasting that it has a very beneficial effect on tinnitus. It can really change our stress responses in the body, really boost our immune system and help us feel like we're functioning much, much better. Just easily, gently dipping your toe into that and slowly developing that ability. Don't suddenly do long 5-day water fasts. It's good to just do all these things very gently. Another thing which is hugely important is do look after your auditory environment. Loud noise exposure is bad for everyone. If you must have very loud music, please wear hearing protection. Wear musicians' earplugs. Always stay comfortable. You don't want to be in that state. That's too loud. And while your sensitivity is really turned up when you've got tinnitus, you're going to really need to pace yourself, actually. Stay within your comfort zone. Wear protection. Musicians' earplugs will still enable you to function. You can still hear, but it takes the edge off and keeps you safe. Most cinemas are too loud. Concerts, gigs, raves, all that sort of stuff. They're pushing well over 100 decibels, and you really need to protect your hearing. You don't want to damage your ears because that causes deafness for life, and it can trigger tinnitus, which is a temporary thing, but you don't want to trigger it. So please be careful. And I really recommend having music on or using the radio, because these are normal everyday activities. You don't want to be focusing on tinnitus-y things. You want to normalize your life and enjoy listening to an interesting program on the radio or listening to your favorite music, because you're going to be listening to something positive which is de-stressful through your hearing. That's going to soothe your hearing. It's going to help your hearing go into enjoyable experience. That's very good for tinnitus. So much better to enjoy the ordinary everyday sounds within your comfort zone. So as long as it's not loud but comfortable. And please be careful of auditory violence. Having a slanging match, screaming, shouting, criticizing, yelling at somebody, being horrible to somebody, this is very, very activating. It all comes flooding in through our ears. So if you're in an argumentative relationship or in your family dynamic, people really yell at each other, you're going to need to just back off and say stop. And you're going to need to tell people that when you say stop, they must stop. They must respect you saying no, stop. If they don't, and it keeps on coming, then that spills into abuse. So it's on a good day, if you can, you're going to need to sort of deal with this and agree that if things get too hot and fiery, you can both need to cool it, and you need to put your hearing first, and calmly you can hopefully make requests to each other or give each other feedback and think about it, digest it. But flying into reactivity is too much. And the final thing is really, if you have spikes coming up, take a long-term view. It's normal for there to be ups and downs on the way down. Spikes can appear out of nowhere, and you can become quite activated and catastrophic again. Think, oh, after all this progress you've made, you have a spike, and oh, all hopeless, useless, and you throw everything out throw the baby out with the bathwater. Please step back and see your progress. Spikes happen, but they come down again, often with a release and a settling afterwards. Take a long-term view and see your progress and stay on track with that. If you have spikes, good to have your cranial session, do your practice to get support from people like me, and soon it will settle. Often a quick phone call can cause you to feel reassured, which can put you back into safety, and then everything starts to calm down and settle. So I wish you all the best with letting go of tinnitus. There's a lot of information there, and if you want to have a clear presentation of this, you can look at my book, which is called Tinnitus from Tyrant to Friend. You can find that on Amazon. And do build up your therapeutic network around you. Aim for safety and well-being, and it gets better and better.